Now that I think about it, Back in the Saddle was technically the first song made out of the bunch. You know, I had taken a big break before going back to music that year, which was this last year. Partly because of emotions, you know, partly because of trying to do streaming at the same time, if you guys were around for that, and partly because of it just not feeling right at the time to make anything, music-wise anyway. And I think partly because it's just life, you know. I would think at the same time I was trying to get, I was trying to move jobs or get a second job too, and that's a whole other thing that's hard to juggle or to figure out, which I'm sure you know. But you know, it's really easy to get so distracted and wrapped up in things that you feel like you need to do, that you put something like a dream or a project or something you're working on to the side when something more important comes into frame. And I didn't even think this was going to end up on this project, this song. I mean, at the time, I didn't even know it would go on anything or that there was a project at all. I just spent what felt like a very long time away from doing anything and wanted to put something together. And I think I got pretty lucky that I had as much fun as I did with the beat here, that writing the verse came fairly quickly to me after that part was done. And I think the intro was meant at first to just be me taking the voice of music talking to me, that whole,
I had hoped that the next time we met, it would be under more sobering pretenses.
but it's good to see you thing. It stemmed from the fact that, I mean, honestly, and I feel okay sharing this with you, I'd been smoking weed pretty heavily and consistently for like the past 5 or plus years before this was created. And up until it was more than 5. It was more than 5. But up until I attempted to make this beat, I was taking a break from that. I was trying to take a break from that, and probably one of my longest breaks, but I don't know if we count the one now. I don't know. But the night that I put the beat together, I broke and I partook of the smoke once again. So I had conflicting feelings going into the song, because a big reason why I wanted to cut back or cut it all together like I've tried to do now was due to this fear I began to have that, if I'm not high, I can't make anything worth listening to. I can't make anything good. And, you know, I wonder how many other artists are out there like thinking about the same thing. You know, I've heard more than one interview in the past about big artists talking about such things. You know, I think Eminem is a huge example that everybody knows about, how he's got this whole catalog of music that is, you know, him on drugs, and then he's got this whole other catalog now that it is not. And then, you know, he talks a lot, or he used to talk, I don't know the guy, but he's talked before a lot about how like it was hard for him to still do music without, you know, being in that other headspace, because he was I mean, maybe he wasn't scared, but it is kind of like a feeling of being scared that, like, you know, if I have to alter my brain or if I feel like I have to alter my brain to express my creativity, if I take out those alterations, are the creative things that I'm making still like good, like in the same way, or just good period, you know? And I think that can stem from, like, yeah, there's obvious things like, yeah, weed will do that, psychedelics, you know, will do that. You know, people probably think they can only make good stuff if they're tripping, you know, or something like that. But I think it can even go to other things, like anything that alters your brain chemistry, like even something like nicotine. I've been struggling with vaping for a long time too, probably longer, actually about the same length as like the weed problem used to be. And I do wonder if even something like nicotine is getting in the way sometimes, or is helping sometimes. You know, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, and I don't know. I probably don't want to chase that rabbit hole too far right here, to keep the video kind of on course. But yeah, that's where my head was at. Is I was worried about that. What were we talking about? Hold on, my brain disconnected. Right. I had conflicting feelings because I really wanted to know if the music that I had made before was just because I had been smoking, or the good music that I had liked before was just because I had been altering my brain. Ended up working out in the end, because as the project, as a whole came together, I began to see that line as God talking to me about how, I had hoped when you came to me, like, you'd have more of your wits about you, but the fact that you're here at all is really all that matters to me. And I think it's because of that last definition of where I see this coming from that I decided to keep both the intro the way that it is and to keep the song on the project as a whole. When I look at the chorus, like the chorus definitely came from a place of excitement about seeing someone I care about. That's not really that arguable or debatable. But like I mentioned in the introduction, this album is more than just a one-motive project. This is a one-note record or something like that. Like there are multiple layers that I keep finding even this far out in time after the words were written and recorded. I miss you, I need you, I can't wait to see you describes both this longing to reconnect with a loved one and also what I imagine God thinks when I'm wandering in the wilderness of distractions that keep me away from him. The whole series of art, like the whole other part of it where I talk about, like, I hold all these roses in valleys with people line, it refers to this idea that you can look around at all the choices someone else has for the people they entertain their time with and be confused as to why you aren't one of them, since in your mind nobody appreciates and gets that person as much as you do. It can be taken again as what I imagine God must feel when I try to fill the emptiness that I feel in my life when trying to find peace with anything outside of my connection with him. Sorry, I was checking something. I'm not trying to say in this DVD commentary I've got going on here that the first interpretation or the second one is the right way to feel or to hear these songs. These are, just my thoughts that I have when putting these songs together, or at least when looking back at, how they fit together. I would actually go as far as to say that both of the previous explanations here that I've just said have problems with them ethically, as like the first one stems from a form of arrogance and pride, thinking that you know everything about how another person feels and that your way of thinking is logical or somehow correct. And the second one is kind of like putting words in God's mouth in a way. I don't actually know if that's how he sees things. That's just something I think I would feel if I were in his shoes, watching my life. The first part of the verse talks about looking at others and being disgusted by how they portray themselves, carrying again that pride and arrogance that I know more about what they are and what they think about than they do, and that my knowledge of self is some way better than whatever they've got going on. Who are they to say such and such advice? Where do they get off thinking that their way of living is so correct while mine is misguided or false? Who are they to be so confident when I've had to go through all of whatever I've gone through? And what have they ever tried to grow? How much do they consider the reasons behind their own shortcomings, if they even consider them at all? It's so easy to get wrapped up in thoughts like these, splitting hairs over assumptions that you make based on the brief window of context that you get from how a person talks and acts when you don't really know the first thing about where their behavior comes from, much less how they feel after a particular interaction that may mean more to you than it does to them. I see this person I care about worrying and being stressed over the actions of people they're either close to or trying to get close to, and I wish they didn't care about these things nearly as much as I care about hearing this person, like, promise me something or, talk to me about something or things like that. Again, similar vein here when it comes to me speaking for God. In my mind, it must drive him crazy to see me have dozens of conversations in my head with people who aren't right in front of me, deriving conclusions from partial information, planning on exactly what I would want to say in the next interaction that would perfectly communicate the thoughts that I have about what I'm trying to get across. It's all so futile, it's all so complex, it's all so complicated, it's just vanity. It means nothing. It means nothing to plan so far ahead for something that more than likely will not come to pass in the ways that I envisioned it anyway. The next line has been kind of a unique puzzle for me to try to make sense of. It's like I mentioned when this was originally written. that I was under an influence that I no longer participate in. But I think I've got it figured out. Try to stay with me, because I think it's cool. The premise that I'm trying to describe here is that whether you notice it or not, your environments that you frequent have an effect on what you think about. I could have written the bars as something like, if you surround yourself with people who don't think like you do, you're tempted to feel safer, or that you can hide from your intrusive thoughts regarding your own potential when you aren't around them. If nobody around you is pushing themselves to achieve greater heights in their own lives, it can be easy to go with that flow of mediocrity, I guess, than to listen to thoughts that you might have outside of those environments, where you crave more out of life than those around you. Instead of wording it this way, in the song I kind of worded it in the inverse. Wish you weren't burdened with attention to the smaller shakes. I know it's more appealing when surrounded by who isn't fake. Meaning, I wish this person I care about didn't struggle so much with these mental battles that seem so small to me on the outside. Me who has witnessed this person express time and time again about bigger issues they're dealing with inside themselves. I know from my own experience that it's more appealing to focus on the smaller stuff that really doesn't matter, such as like a workplace drama or like social group drama or something like that. The stuff that doesn't have a big impact on one's personal life when they go home at night. It's more appealing to focus on that stuff when I find myself surrounded by people who do care about the things that I care about when I'm alone. It's this idea that when faced with someone who actually listens and cares, it can be daunting, overwhelming, and can carry a weight of, man, this person really has their stuff together. They really know who they are and what they're about. I wish I was more like that. But the effort to get to that point feels so great. It feels too hard for me to get there. It feels like there isn't enough time for me to get there myself. It feels easier to just focus on this drama of this other stuff that I really don't care about than to put in the work to find out why I'm feeling this way, much less how I can change it. The kingdom isn't real estate and everybody welcome in it is an invitation. It refers to one idea that God's kingdom isn't exclusive, that there isn't some membership fee by way of a set of commandments to be kept, or religious upbringing, or a baptismal birth, or something like that to grant you access. It's something everybody on earth has the opportunity to take part in if they want to. There isn't some specific prayer you have to pray. You don't need to be seen by a group of witnesses at like some big old, megachurch or something like that to claim all the keys. Like, all it takes is a heart that wants to accept the invite and a confession of the mouth that describes what you want to do and why you've chosen that path. Similarly, to this person that I care about, the love that I have for them doesn't come with a payment plan. It isn't dependent on what they do or what they have done for me. It's a feeling that stems from a limited understanding that I have about who they are at their core. It doesn't need them to be a perfect picture of a human being. It doesn't need them to be their version of perfect for the feeling or this kingdom that I talk about to exist. The love that I think I have comes from me and my feelings. Convoluted circumstances hinder those who stand in it refers to how we as humans have messed up the simplicity of what is asked of us from God by way of religion. People think that religion and God are the same thing, or that you can't have one without the other, and I guess there's a little bit of truth in that last part, because you can't really have religion without God, but you can have God without religion. To me, religion is man's attempt at trying to appease God by way of keeping commandments. It's a way that we fulfill our need to do something to be in God's good graces, when he never says that it works that way. Go read it, man. He doesn't say that it works that way. If you want a true relationship with God, the first thing you have to accept is that you can't do anything. The Old Testament affirms that sentiment by describing God's character and giving examples of man failing to meet that standard throughout Israel's history. And the New Testament shows that there was only one guy who actually could keep the law, and that man was hung on a cross for confronting the state of religion at that time, and religion at its core, while fulfilling the prophecies that the old had put into place. I don't know, the point here is just that if you think God is all about religion, in my opinion, you've been misled. And you're not alone in that, in that idea. I would advise you to go read that book again that, you know, some people love talking about and some people really hate. And instead of listening to someone else, including myself, tell you about it, you know, let God show you what he really is saying in there. And I think you'll find the same way that I did, that the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven isn't just talking about heaven itself. Like, it's not just the afterlife. It isn't a mansion in the sky. It's a relationship with the one who loves you more than anyone else ever could. It's a relationship with the one who had no reason to extend his hand in fellowship to you other than love. And this line also, because we've kind of gotten off track a little bit, but this line about, what line are we talking about? Oh, convoluted circumstances, right? Yeah. So this line can also refer to how the environment in which we find ourselves while pursuing a relationship with another person can have effects on how we see that relationship and cause us to draw conclusions that might not necessarily be correlated. Sometimes love feels more complicated while you're in the midst of feeling it than it does from an outside view. If you meet somebody during a hard time in your life and your life improves, as much as you want to chalk it up to being just because that person was there, it may not be the case. And the same is true in the inverse. If a relationship falls apart or it ends, there's a plethora of factors that could lead to that happening. And it may not be as simple as, I just didn't feel the love anymore. Love doesn't work like that to me. Like, infatuation works a lot like that, this whole coming and going of a feeling, but love is complex. It's more than just a feeling. To me, it's a decision of the will to do all that one can for the betterment of another person. And just because I speak with so much confidence about my thoughts on the subject doesn't mean I know everything about it, or doesn't mean that I claim to know everything about it. It's just, you know, or that I exist outside of the feeling or something like that. Like, I'm just as susceptible to being influenced by different factors that I describe here as anyone else. I'm just trying to understand it more. Never seen a miracle or heard a single guarantee. Vibes I get from meditating, all I ever seem to need, is pretty self-explanatory, which might be a first for this song, or one of the few examples here where there isn't that much to read into. You know, I haven't heard a voice from the sky, or, you know, seen a mountain moved, or witnessed some inexplicable event in front of my eyes that proves beyond a shadow of doubt to me that God is there. The comfort I feel when meditating on his word and talking to him and talking about him and everything that goes in my head is both more than enough and more than I deserve. Maybe that is just for me. I'm cool with everything I read. It doesn't mean that, and that's like also more lines from the song, right? Those lines don't mean that I never run into portions of scripture that get me to question God, but it does mean that it never feels wrong to me to bring those questions to him and to seek after the answers that I know he'll provide at the right time. Likewise, just because this feeling of love between me and this person isn't always showcased in a way that everyone can easily identify and understand, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist between the two of us. If I were to list all the reasons, all the little actions and efforts that I notice, all the sacrifices made on both sides, they wouldn't carry the same weight to anyone outside of me and this person, and that's really how it should be. It's a personal relationship. It's not a public spectacle. Faith in something greater than myself is what we all believe is the closing statement. That whether you cling to God or yourself or whatever else the world wants to define as purpose or peace, we all put trust into something that isn't just our present selves. We trust that our future selves will thank us for the work that we put in today. We trust that the things that make up our routines, whether they be like jobs or, jobs are the biggest example. They'll be there tomorrow, right? The vehicles that get us to our jobs will still work tomorrow. The food that we put into our bodies will help us grow, even though we can't see it actually happening. And the list goes on. I could have made a rambling list here, but I didn't, to save some time. And because I think you get it. What do you put your faith into these days? As this video comes to a close, where do you run to when it feels like the sky is falling? Who do you thank when things are going well? How much do you really trust them? Thanks for listening. I know there's a lot going on here, and it's not lost on me that breaking down these songs might take away from the idea that all art is to be interpreted by the witness and not by the one who creates it. Which is crap too. I should have just taken that out because I don't agree with that. I think I agree with half of that. Art is to be interpreted by the witness, but I think the creator gets a say too. Does he not? Does he or she not? Do they not? It's ridiculous. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, just keep in mind again that I've already said this, and if I say it in more videos, I'm just gonna cut it for the future. But just in case I haven't, and I know that I already have, this isn't the definitive interpretation of all that is in here. It's just something to think about, And I had a good time overthinking a lot of it with you here today. So I hope you're doing okay, and I hope that you got something out of this. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's collect call, right? Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I love you.